Good evening, everyone. Chip Cooper for FTC Guardian and my partner and sidekick, Alan Cutts. Here we are at the end of January 2018 for our second Hangout of the month. And Alan and I are very busy trying to take care of some last-minute details, packing to get ready to go on the Marketer's Cruise at the end of this week. A little bit more about that later, but I'll switch it over to Alan now and let him tell you a little bit about it and what he's doing.
Yeah, I'm just swamped. I mean, we've got the cruise coming up. I leave here on Friday, so I'm swamped with my business, FTC Guardian, American Med Supply. So it's a lot to compact in a 4-day period that we're going to be gone for a week at a time. So it's a lot to get done, but we're getting there. We're getting there a little bit at a time.
It sure is. It really is. When you're going away for a week, each of us sort of has 2 or 3 different jobs we do. And when you go away for a week, you sort of have to tidy up all 3 of them or 2 of them or whatever, so that you can then hopefully function in a limited email environment, which is a cruise ship. Yep. And it just takes a little more planning and getting things straight before you leave than sometimes you might think. But let's go ahead and get started here. And you can see, let's go to share my screen here. Share my screen. And I think there it is. And tell me if you can see it.
Yes.
You should see the housekeeping announcement, but let's go back to the title slide, online contracting. It's really an update here for online contracting. And I would imagine that probably 95% or better of our members are doing some kind of online contracting, or if you're not already, you probably will this year as you get your business moving for this year. So let's go ahead and get back to the housekeeping announcement, which you've all seen before. The presentation is for informational purposes only. It is not legal advice. And we at FTC Guardian are not affiliated with the Federal Trade Commission. So we're talking here about the methodology that you should use in order to have an enforceable contract with your paying customers, right? These are subscribers, these are members, these are customers. These are not just someone who might stumble onto your website, take a look around, but don't click through and become a contractual customer, subscriber, or member. So we're talking about binding these people into an enforceable contract, which of course is your customer agreement. Very generically, it's what we refer to it as. Now, there are really 2 approaches. There's the so-called gold standard, which has been around for a long time. And by the way, FTC Guardian uses the gold standard, which consists of, as you see on this slide, 3 pages. The first page, as indicated by the bullets, is an order form. So if you were signing up to become a member of FTC Guardian on our website, you would then decide you want to be, say, a pro-level member, and you click on that. It tells you what the pricing is, what the basic terms and conditions are, so you click on that. Then you get that second bullet. You get to a so-called intermediate page, which has nothing to do except for presenting and binding you to a contract, right? And that is our membership agreement. And the membership agreement, as you might recall, is a separate page, and the membership agreement is presented in a scroll box, which allows you to scroll up and down and read the whole thing. And then finally, if you click I agree on the membership agreement, indicating your agreement, then you go to the third of the 3 pages, which is checkout. And of course, that's where you would have pulled out your credit card and submitted for the purchase of a membership. So the gold standard for online contracting, again, is what we use, consists of 3 pages, and the contracting page is in the middle. It would be page 2. Now, recently, here is an example of the scroll box, and you can see at the very top is in all caps, it's a paragraph that says if you click, you're going to be contractually bound, et cetera, et cetera. And you see at the bottom the I accept checkbox. There are different variations on this theme, but this is basically what the second page, the contracting page for the gold standard, is all about. And that looks a lot like what you might have seen or might recall having clicked through on our FTC Guardian website. But now we have the emerging consensus for online contracting, and it has condensed the process from 3 to 2 pages, right? And you always start out, of course, with an order form page, just as with the gold standard, but you don't have that middle page. You go straight from the order form to the checkout page. And of course, the checkout has the credit card information or PayPal, some sort of payment information. And then there's a checkbox for the presentation of a link, and you check the box, and then you go ahead and complete the purchase and submit. So it's really 2 pages. And when I say the emerging consensus, what I mean here is that a number of years of, not that recent, but online marketers prefer this, and this is why. Let's go to this next page. They like it. Marketers like it because you don't have to deal with that second page. You don't have to worry about a template or some sort of programming involved in a scroll box, that sort of thing. It's very streamlined, as you see here in the second bullet. Registration and checkout, 2 pages, not 3, no software development, very simple. And a lot of people have moved to this approach in the last few years. But what is relatively new about it is the legal side of it. There have been a number of cases that have decided that this approach is enforceable legally, so that now we can say, and we're very conservative, by the way, we can say that there's enough authority out there where if you do this correctly, it's going to be enforceable, and that's what this Hangout is all about. So it may have been not all that new to you. There are a number of marketers who started doing this a few years ago, but the legal system is sort of lagging behind the marketers, and the legal system now, assuming you do it correctly, it means it's going to be enforceable and there's little or no risk. There are 4 requirements for an enforceable agreement with this new approach, this 2-page approach. The presentation of the agreement has to be clear and conspicuous, meaning that, of course, it has to be easily noticeable. Number 2, contract terms have to be sufficiently identified. And I'll show you that in just a minute, but I clicked this slide ahead of time. Number 3, the legal terms are easily accessible. Number 4, consumers have knowledge of and have assented or agreed to the contract terms. Those are the 4 requirements that we see in the recent case law about the enforceability of this approach. These are the requirements that are legally recognized. If you satisfy these, you're going to have an enforceable agreement. Now, there are 4 things that you should not do. Obviously, going back to the previous slide, those are the things you should do, but you should avoid these 4 mistakes. Do not, number 1, do not hide the link, right? And number 2, don't just state something vague like disclaimer or more information or details or just terms and conditions. There has to be a little bit more than that. And then number 3, don't use fine print that fails to stand out. And number 4, don't use links that point to a blockable pop-up page. So those are the 4 mistakes. And this is what we recommend at FTC Guardian that should be involved in the presentation of this contract on your checkout page. So you see at the very top of this slide that this is going to be on the checkout page. And you see to the far right, it's probably going to be down near the bottom to the left of your submit button, which is the final button that is pressed by the purchaser to submit the transaction for payment, right? So because we want it to be very conspicuous, you remember that's one of the requirements. So that's why we recommend you place it right beside the submit button, right? So another thing that's important is we want to convey the message that there is an enforceable agreement of a legal nature. So you see the actual text there, and at the top, I agree with the terms and conditions of the subscription agreement, right? So you have the words terms and conditions and also the word agreement, it's clear that there's something legal going on here. And if you click on that link, you can read it and review it. The second one is, I agree with the legal terms and conditions. Now, I've seen a lot of these where it just says, I agree with the terms and conditions. That's probably okay. I just think it's better to be a little more conservative, put the word legal in there so it's very, very clear to a consumer that this is a contract they're about to enter into. And then as you see in red at the bottom, the submit button should not be operable unless the consumer checks the box, right? So that's clear. If there's no check on that box, pressing the submit button should not complete the transaction, which of course involves payment. So this is what you need to do. These are the two alternatives. Choose one that you like, place it to the left of the submit button. Make sure that the submit button is not operable unless the box is checked, and that the link is good and does not involve some sort of pop-up that could be blocked, right? It has to be an actual web page. If you follow those rules, you're going to be in excellent shape, and you'll be able to take advantage of a much more streamlined process of online contracting involving 2 pages and not 3. So here are the takeaways. The gold standard, which we still use at FTC Guardian, involving a 3-page registration process or procedure, order form page 1, scroll box page 2, and then checkout. The emerging standard is 2 pages. You've just seen it, the order form and the checkout with the link. It's favored by marketers for all the obvious reasons. It's streamlined. It's less development to get it in to that second page that you see in the gold standard. And you need to follow the 2 diagrams that we've just presented to you. So here are the tags that are going to be placed in this replay video when I upload it tomorrow morning. So that is the end of this presentation. I'm going to go back to, I'm going to kill the screen share. So now you should see me, and I believe you should see Alan, and we'll answer any questions you might have. I'm guessing that there probably won't be many because this is pretty straightforward stuff, and it's stuff that you've seen. If you buy anything online yourself, you have seen different versions of this process. And what we've done is present what we strongly recommend that you follow if you want to take advantage of this 2-page approach. So, Alan, do we have any questions?
Yeah, I don't have any. I want to ask, does anybody here, do you have any membership sites? Do you require anything like this on your sites? If you do, just pop in there and let us know that you're doing something like this. Let us know. It's going to take a little while for the lag. Do I need to do this for people who signed up and receive a news moved? Do I need to do and do a newsletter and did not purchase a product?
I wouldn't think so. I mean, the idea, of course, you remember, well, you might not remember, but we've done a lot of webinars, and a number of you have attended these webinars and purchased as a result. But you may recall that toward the end of the webinar, we talk about some of the documents that are in our system. And we talk about customer agreements. And we have, I don't know, 15 or 20 different types of customer agreements. And there are 2 basic purposes of a customer agreement. One is to make sure you get paid, protect your right to get paid for what you're selling, and you're not selling anything. So that really eliminates you from a customer agreement. And then the other reason is to limit your liability, right? So you want to bind your customers to contracts for those 2 primary reasons: limit liability and really enforce your rights to get paid. So if you're just not doing a paid subscription to a newsletter, I wouldn't think that you need to do this unless there's some really unique terms and conditions there. I mean, you should have say a copyright notice that goes out on your newsletter all the time. That will help you nail down your ownership rights to that. But I really, unless there's some really unusual terms and conditions that you really need to bind people with a contract, I don't know that that's necessary. I wouldn't say don't do it, but I don't think it's absolutely necessary would be the answer.
Yeah. Somebody, whoever R is, it says, do we have the code and the templates? The templates are a part of the membership. All the templates are in there. The code and how you do it is up to you. I have programmers who handle everything for us. So you'd have to have your own programmers do it. A lot of shopping carts already have something similar in where you can just drop our text into their boxes. Another one is, do I do something like this for people who sign up for a Facebook community or group? You wouldn't if it's a free group, because there's no money that's going to transpire. I'm a member of at least 2 paid Facebook groups that are private groups. If they're paid private groups, which are membership programs, then I would say, yes, you're going to make it part of that membership, because it's a membership just like any other kind of membership to be a part of that Facebook group. Where would we find the customer agreement in the dashboard? Where's it at? I think it's under customer agreement. Isn't there
there's a category that says customer agreements, and there's probably, as I think, 15 or 20 in there.
Yeah. There's a category called customer agreements. There's channel marketing, customer agreements, and I believe it's in the customer agreement.
And the first one that's listed there has a long name, membership, subscription, something else, and that's the one. If you have a subscription or a membership, that's the one that you should select, because depending on how you answer questions, it can come out a lot of different ways. So that's the one that probably the majority of you would select. The others that you see in the list are self-explanatory.
Yeah. And for just a follow-up question to yours, it's really anywhere that somebody's going to pay you to be a part of a service, whether it's Instagram or whatever else, whatever group, whatever membership somebody's joining, that's when you want to make sure you have this in front of the collecting the credit card payment and doing all that is. But if it's free, then, there's no reason to really get into it all. I have a recurring monthly payment. And Beverly just says I have one. I want to start one. I don't see anything else. I'm just kind of scrolling through here. I don't see any other questions. Is there a customer agreement for coaching clients? Is there a customer agreement specific?
Yeah, I think there's a consulting agreement. There's also a coaching agreement. And the coaching agreement is one that is signed, but it's pretty easy to convert it into a click-through agreement. So
yeah, these days you can make almost anything click through. I mean, that's kind of like, that's become the standard these days, is sign your name to it, type it in the box, and
right. I mean, here's the way you would do it. If the consulting or coaching agreement is a signed pen to paper, it's got this little block at the top that says, who the parties are and that sort of thing. And then there's the document. And then at the end, there's a signature block, right? Yeah. So if you're going to convert it to a click-through document, you would gen it up, delete the signature block, delete that thing at the top, and then you would have this all capital letter header up there that you can get from the subscription agreement. Just gen it up, copy it, paste it up there, and you've got it. You've converted a signable document to a click-through document, because the click-through documents have that big paragraph at the top that's all capital letters. It takes the place of what the traditional signable agreement has. So that's very easy to do.
Yep. Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I don't really see anything else. So we've got the dates. Let me pull up my calendar. We talked about it. Well, I'll go ahead and I got them written down right here. February. If you want to mark your calendar, we have our dates for February. They're going to be February the 5th and February the 19th. If you want to mark those on your calendar, obviously you're getting an email about them. But if you want to go ahead and put them in your book, so February the 5th at 7 and February the 19th at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So we'll get those scheduled. And Chip already has the presentations pretty much put together, I believe. The bullets at least put together for them both. So we're good to go.
Yep.
So,
yep. I tried to get that done between Christmas and New Year's, because I knew we were going to be going to the cruise and also a big event, traffic and conversions in February. So that's already done. Thank goodness. So
all right, guys. We'll see you guys after the cruise. We'll see you after the cruise and before TNC. So we'll be back the following week.
And if any of you are going on the cruise, please come up and introduce yourselves, and we can have a nice chat about what you're doing. And maybe if you have any questions at that time, certainly answer those for you.
Absolutely.
All right. Very
That's
well.
all. Take
Good night,
care.
everyone.
Bye.